This conference will now be recorded.
So the Tomcat, so once you download the Tomcat, right, you will get this folder. And the web apps folder is where you will place your WAR file. And in the bin, you will have the Catalana file. So in the web apps, you need to copy the WAR file, which I'm going to upload, right? The name can be anything, but you have to rename it to elibrary.war, right? So only this, not any other folder. Okay, you don't need any other folder to be available. The folder will be created by Tomcat when you start your server. So that is the first step where you will copy this WAR file, and in this bat file, in the bat file, initially you can probably comment out everything apart from this single line. This is the heap configuration. You just keep anything what you want, 200, 300, 400, anything is okay to start with, right? The rest of the other lines you can probably go and just comment out like this. Okay, and then the second thing, next is your configuration server.xml in the conf file. There you will have your the port in which you wanted to listen, right? So this connector port 8083 or 8082 or 8080, whatever it is. If in case in your mission, without your knowledge, something else is running in the same port, your Tomcat will not start. You will get an kind of exception saying that the port is already blocked or port is busy or something related to this
No,
message.
is the Bluetooth.
Sorry, what is that? Okay, fine. So in that case, you can change this port to other 8084 or 8085. This is another change you have to do it. Once you do this, you can go and start your Tomcat. Okay, you can go to the command line and start your command. Okay. Is there a doubt in this?
No. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay. And before that, we saw how to the prerequisite of running this Tomcat or any Java related application in your mission. You need JDK, and so and setting up this environmental variable. Okay, so we also touched upon this, covered this earlier. So before, if you have already set it up in the mission, that's fine. If not, install the Java and set your environmental variables as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. So I was referring to when it comes to performance engineering. Obviously, you don't need much of Java knowledge or any programming language, but for you to get some confidence while you go and speak to the developers, because we are now going to speak to developers, not just saying that there's a problem with the performance. We're just going to go a couple of level in depth and then going to say that your method is having a problem or the object is having a memory problem. So we're going to talk about more technology or technically, right? So we don't want to go and talk about whatever you see it in the tools. The tool like the JProfiler or AppDynamics will show these problems, or you will find out these problems. But we don't want you to go and just talk to the developer like a black box. right? And if that is the case, then if the developer is going to question something, will always be on the uh, we'll have a lot of doubts, or we'll have a lot of uh, challenges in explaining them, or probably justifying them. So if you have some level of knowledge, or if you're seen what is that method means, what is the object means, what is the class means, how a typical development happens, how a typical programs are going to be, how multiple classes are created. So we're not going to go and develop applications, right? It is more for us to get that comfort zone, so that we can go and confidently go and speak to your developers. Okay, so that is why we want to have this session on the basics of Java. Okay, and again, basics of Java is not basics to get into a development. No, this is more from the getting your level where you can start your performance engineering. You will be able to easily go and talk to your developers. Okay, that is what I'm going to teach today. Okay, now when you look into any Java program, okay, if it can be just very small program, or it can be multiple programs, very big enterprise architecture. If you just consider any program, any class file, this is a skeleton is going to follow. Okay, any program that you write, right? Very simple calculator, addition, subtraction, whatever you can take an example. You write a program, okay, and then you want to save it as a .java. Okay, any Java program you want to write, it's going to be .java. And when you're going to compile it, okay, then it will become a class file. Okay, so application can have multiple class files. Each class file, it's going to do some kind of a logical work, logical algorithm. Okay, in a class, obviously, say if you want to do an addition, subtraction, right? There is going to be a calculation, and calculation is going to be on top of some inputs, and it will provide some output, right? So which means during the course of your calculation, you have to store your inputs temporarily, you have to store your output temporarily, and in middle there is going to be a calculation. Okay, so to store these input and output variables, you have your data types, and the actual calculation, okay, is going to be written in a method. So in a class file called calculator, for example, you take it, there's going to be multiple methods: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Every method is going to do a set of operations, set of calculations, right? So that is called method. Yeah, your actual operation, your actual calculation is going to be a method. And then your data types, to pass input, to store this input temporarily, to store the output temporarily, you're going to have multiple data declared. Okay, it can be integer, it can be byte, it can be string, it can be maps, it can be boolean. Broadly, there are two types of data types. One is going to be a primitive, one non-primitive. In fact, it is not even required for us to understand all these primitive and non-primitive, but very specifically, the way from a performance perspective, from the way the memories are going to get handled, this plays a important role. That is why I wanted to mention these primitive and non-primitive. Okay, so primitive, if you look into it, it will have integer, byte, character, boolean, which are very, very small in size. The memory that is going to get occupied by these data types are going to be very small and short-lived. Whereas non-primitive, it is going to be relatively occupy more space, strings and arrays, and objects, of course. So the main difference is, we'll be looking into it in detail when we go to the memory topics. Main difference is the way they classify it as primitive is going to short-lived, whereas your non-primitive is going to live more longer. Your primitive is going to get stored in place something called stack. Non-primitive is going to get stored in something called heap. Okay, there is a uh, in-depth sessions on these stacks and heaps, how this primitive and non-primitive are going to get stored, how this is going to influence your GC. All these things we'll be learning later. Okay, but from a very basics of your Java, just think that there are two data types, primitive and non-primitive. But later it is going to have a major role when it comes to your performance and especially on memory. Okay, so any program can have a declaration on of these data types. Okay, and multiple classes. Okay, you, as I said, there are multiple programs that is going to be in your application, and these multiple classes are going to get packaged into a package name. So you can just think that a package name is going to have collection of different class files. Okay, let me show a representation of this in the Eclipse. If I go to my e-library application,
Satish, is it compulsory to use Eclipse or IntelliJ is good?
it's not compulsory for sure. You can use IntelliJ if you're already comfortable. Yes, you can use IntelliJ, because I'm not going to do a lot in Eclipse anyway, right? The way I'm going to use Eclipse is initially for this Java basics, I'll be doing a few programs in the Eclipse. Later, my e-library application, what I've imported into Eclipse. So you can, if you already know IntelliJ, you can use it. You can import the project there, and if you want to do any modification, you can modify it. If not, you can stick onto the war file itself. Whatever war file I'm going to give it, you can put it in the Tomcat. So if I mean, if you know IntelliJ, definitely you can use it, and then whatever I'm doing it in Eclipse, you can probably try to do it in the any other IDE. I don't think there will be a problem.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So if you see e-library, okay, and if I go to the source, and if you go to the com.java.t.servlet, so this com.java.t.servlet is a package name. It's a package. Okay, and this package has multiple classes, right? There are 10-20 classes. Okay, and in each of the class file, if I go into .java, admin login.java is the my Java file, and when it compiles, it is a admin login class. Okay, and any Java program, as I was saying, it can have multiple methods. So here it has do post method, and it can have multiple methods. See, so you will have a package, you will have multiple class files, and inside the class file, you will have your actual algorithm inside the method, and there will be a lot of data declarations as well. Okay, so you can just, to simplify it, right? There are, obviously it's not going to be that simple. It's going to be lot more into it when it comes to your application development itself. But for you to understand, and from a PE perspective, to simplify it, you will have a package, you will have multiple classes, and in classes you will have methods and the data types like integer or strings. Okay, and there's something called object, right? So object, there are many definitions, many explanations. You might have already heard, some of you might already know about it. Okay, so I'll give few examples which might not be very accurate definition of object, but more in terms of for you to understand it again more from a very simple way. Okay, everybody are very familiar with these e-commerce sites like Flipkart or Amazon, right? Since it's an e-commerce site, obviously there are going to be class programs which is going to have the algorithm to check the availability of the stocks and the price, to calculate the price based on the product and the quantity. There are going to be separate class files, right? Assume that there can be a class file called availability. There can be a class file called price calculations. Okay, inside your e-commerce application. Say for example, you are going to access your website, Amazon.com, from your browser, and you're going to shop for, say, laptop, a Dell laptop, and in parallel I'm somewhere in my office, I'm browsing for, say, OnePlus or Samsung mobile. Okay, and you're same Amazon.com, right? Same Amazon.com, different products. So you're just navigating through the pages. You wanted to add to cart, or probably check for the price or check for the availability. Okay, I'm also doing the same thing. So when a request comes for the product details, okay, there will be two requests coming from my uh, browser and from your browser, and both it's requesting for product details, which will include the price as well. Okay, so your server, it will receive both the request. Okay, and both the requests are pretty much same request, except for the maybe a quantity and the actual product itself. Okay, so it will come to the respective classes. Okay, and then for you, at the runtime, okay, there's going to be one class file for, say, price calculation. Okay, you will not have multiple class files, right? You will just have one class file inside your package. At the runtime, what will happen is there will be an object created for your request, and separately another object will be created for my request. So there will be a duplicate, or there will be an instance of a class file will get loaded into the memory. And for me as well, another object will be created in the memory. You can just think that it's a duplicate of the class file or the instance of your class file. Okay, so your object will store, say there might be variables for, say, product and quantity. So in that object, the data will be product is equal to laptop, a Dell laptop, and quantity is 1. And for the object which is created for me, it will have the data as product is equal to Samsung mobile and quantity as, say, 2. And the method will get executed for me separately. It will be executed for you separately, and temporarily the price would be $300 or 10,000 or 20,000 or 1 lakh for you, and same for me, 30,000 or 40,000, right? And it will send back the response back to the individual browser session. So like this, in runtime, there will be multiple hundreds of objects that will be created for this just one single functionality called price calculator, right? So the object is something which will be created runtime. It's a duplicate. You can think that there's a duplicate, or it's an instance of a class file will be created, right? So you can just keep it very simple like this from an real-time example, so that you will not forget. Okay, there's another example I've given it on the slide, right? Assuming that there's a school who registers the incoming students. Okay, so there will be a registration class file, and the class file will accept your name, your age, your color, what is your hobby, right? All these things. And the runtime for every student, there will be an object will be created for the registration class file. So for the first student, it will take the name as John, age 12, Okay, and then the hobby, it could be he plays cricket or he plays keyboard. And similarly for second, third registration, the details are going to be same. Okay, so there are going to be one class file called student, and multiple objects will be created at that point of time to handle the individual request. And once that is that registration is completed, that object will get deleted little later. We will just assume that it will get deleted later. Okay, so which means the object will be created, it will be there for a few seconds, and then it will get deleted. The class file, there's only one class file. Always that class will be loaded in your server. Whenever a particular class file is called, an object will be created in the memory, and then it will get deleted later. So it's a copy or an instance of a class file is called your object. Just even if you have doubts, even if you're not very clear, don't worry about it, because we are not going to write any Java programs. We're not going to go and be a developer here. We are going to be a performance engineer. So when you're going to analyze your methods or a class or an object, you should at least visualize it. Okay, this is what it could have happened, right? Without visualizing it, it will be difficult for you to analyze the problem or go and explain that problem. So in that perspective, even if you're very weak in Java in any programming, or if you haven't done any programming, just think that it is pure conceptual. Okay, you have application, you will have multiple class files, and there will be a package which will group all the class files, and there will be a data declared inside a program, there will be a methods in the program, and object is something um, uh, will be created runtime whenever a class file is invoked. Okay, so with that, just visualize that alone. You don't need to go and think that why it is and what it is. That will if you want to really become maybe a Java programmer, or if you want to probably go in depth, the second step is not go theoretical. Okay, rather see, if you're already into IT, 3 years, 5 years of experience, or if you're already into testing or performance testing, don't attempt to learn Java via more from a good from a book perspective. If you take a book, or if you go and take a course, they will start with OOPS concept. They will start with data variables. They will start with your all your conditional statements. So from there, they will deep dive to creating programs and all these things. After day 2, day 3, either you will become bored, or you will get other priority work, and you will stop it. Okay, so I have seen many people, including me, have done that in the past. If you wanted to go get started with some level of programming, start coding it. Okay, start writing programs right away. Even though you don't know anything, that's okay, you can start writing programs. Okay, you create your own small algorithms, your small need that you think that you need to automate it using Java, and then look for code algorithm in the internet. Just blindly copy paste it, run it, and then you try to analyze what is written in the code, more like a reverse engineering. Okay, in that way, it will keep you excited, it will keep you motivated. You will feel when you do something on your own and so on, you will find more interest towards it. Okay, so start writing programs, start compiling it. You can define whatever you want. You can say that I need to read a CSV file, I need to read a JSON, or I just to do some calculations, I just need to go and write something into a text file or a CSV, right? You define whatever requirement you want, and just go and search it in the internet, and definitely you will get a lot of suggestions, not a suggestion, in fact a code itself, which you can copy paste it. Okay, and then you can just go line in line and understand, okay, what it is, why they've written this, and then go and Google out that line functions, what it is meant. That by doing that, you'll slowly start get comfortable with the programming. Definitely it is not a 1 day or 1 month or 3 month or 5 month journey. It is going to be long, right? But by doing this, then you can go back to the book, and then go and probably pick your condition statements or your data types, and then try to understand what it is, right? By doing this, starting here and then going to the book, and vice versa, it's going to help you motivated. Okay, but definitely just going by any Udemy courses from day one, day two, all the OOPS concept, all your theoretical stuff, we will definitely stop it, because uh, we are not, we don't have exams, right? And we are into IT already. Either we will have other priority, or easily there are a lot of deviations. Will get bored by this. Okay, do this. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just go and in Eclipse we'll just go and create few programs, and then see how it is done, and few exercises as well. I'll give it if you can just go and do it on your own as well. Okay, so that is why you need Eclipse, or you can use any IDE. Okay, you can use your Visual Code or your IntelliJ or Eclipse. Anything is okay. Eclipse is more suited for Java. It has been used by so many people, but definitely there are other IDEs as well. People prefer and use it. Okay, there is nothing going to stop you in using any other IDE. Okay, so again, for Eclipse, Java is prerequisite. Just download the Eclipse, and any version you can install it. What I have is I think version 2021 R. I think there are a lot of latest model that latest version that would have come. You can go and download it. Not a problem at all. Okay, just download it, and you need to just extract it. It will be like a folder. Okay, you extract it. Okay, and then open this Eclipse. Okay, and only if you have Java in your machine, this Eclipse will open. Okay, so once you open the Eclipse, okay, first thing what you want to do is you want to create a project. Okay, go and then open the new project. Okay, you can say Java project. Okay, you can just give whatever name you want. Okay, so you will get a structure. You will get a source. You will get the JRE system library getting added. Okay, and you can go in the source. There will be an empty. Okay, so first you can go and add in the source, add a class file. Okay, you can mention whatever class file you want. The name you can say 1, 2, 3 or first or second, whatever, just a logical name. Whatever program you would write, you can give a first, and then select this option. Okay, you need a main method for your project to work or project to start. You can have multiple class files, multiple methods within a project. Now this HJK project can have multiple classes, right? So when you execute this project, okay, it will go and look for a class where there is a main method. Okay, so which means you should definitely have a one main method, a starting point. You can think that it's a starting point of your application. Okay, so finish it. Okay, you'll just get a very blank template. Okay, so let me go to my project called Learn Java Programs. Okay, so first thing is you just need to execute your program to make sure that the program works. It just a simple print statement as well, it should be okay, right? Because first time you are opening the Eclipse, your Java is configured, so you should make sure that your Eclipse could able to run your program, right? So for that, just any print statement should be okay. Okay, so just right click it and then you can run it. Yeah, it just says I am here, right? Which means you have created a project, and in that you created a program, a class file, and then you could able to run it. So which means Java is properly configured. Your Eclipse can open, Eclipse can create a project under class file, and you could able to execute it. Which means you have a proper development and the runtime environment to create a project, to create a class file, to compile it, and also to run it, right? So this ensures that yes, you configure your Java properly. So in the Eclipse, do this first thing when you first time you're going to do a program in the Eclipse or in any IDE. Okay, and then as I was mentioning, right, your project can have, or your class file can have multiple data declarations. It can have a method. It can have multiple class files as well. Okay, for example, the project, my first program.java is a first class file. It's a first program. Okay, here I have declared, say, let me comment out this. Okay, here there is a integer called value, another integer called value2, and I'm doing just a simple addition. Okay, simple addition called sum is equal to value1 plus value2. Okay, so what this program does, just get a two inputs, two integers, and then the output is stored in the integer called sum. If I now execute this, yeah, it says the sum is 22, right? So one class file, one method. Inside that I have two values declared for input, one value declared for output, and I'm doing the calculation, which is nothing but addition, and then I'm printing the output. Okay, now assume that this addition program, I have to make it probably reusable, right? Maybe because many people can use it, many people can invoke it. So in that case, what I will do is I'm going to comment this out. Okay, and there is going to be a second program which is nothing but an addition program. If I go inside my second program, the second program, it receives the input. So whoever is going to call the second program, they have to pass this input. Okay, there's a method called add. This method called add will receive value1, value2, which means somebody who is calling it, they have to pass this value. Okay, and then here in the second program, here I will have this addition logic, and I will return the output. Okay, so this is you can think that this is a reusable class file called addition method. There's an addition method. Whoever is going to call this reusable method have to pass the two values, and this program will receive it. It will do the calculation and it will return it. Right. So in the first program.java, now for me to call any class file, right, I cannot call the class file directly. I cannot call the method directly. I'll create an object, instance of a class file. This instance of the class file will be created in the runtime only. Okay, but the code for this, you will create a object. Okay, my obj is the object name. You can keep it whatever you want. You can keep it as a sample object or whatever. It's just a name you're giving to it. Okay, so my obj is a is an object name that you're getting created. So the runtime, there can be many myobj that will be created, because whoever is going to call the second program, this myobj1, myobj2, myobj3, myobj4. I'm giving an example, right? It is not 1, 2, 3, 4, but this myobj, multiple myobj will be created as per the invocation. Okay, so from a class file 1, you're going to create an object for second program, and then you're going to call the method. Okay, once you create this object, okay, then what you will do is you can access the methods. So I can say my obj dot, okay, it will list down the methods in that second program. Say for example, add. Now if I go to the second program, and then what I will do is I'll just copy this, and then I'll say there's another method called sub. Okay, here I will say diff and diff. Okay, so there is now two methods inside the second program. One is your addition, another one is your subtraction. Now if I go to the first program, okay, now if I take this out, okay, now my obj dot, okay, you will also get the here, where is the diff? Let me save this once again. Sorry, sub dot sub, right? Add is there, now sub is also there. Okay, it will accept a value 1 comma value 1 comma value 2. Okay, so you can access the method through these objects. Okay, so whatever methods are that is there in the second program, once you created an object, then you can go and call my obj dot add. I can also say int diff is equal to my obj dot sub of right. So first one will do a 12 plus 10, and then second will do a 12 minus 10. Okay, and then we'll print both. Okay, so now I'll go and run this. It has to be difference. So I'll just run it again. So I'm here, I'm the start of the second program. Okay, and then sum of the 22 and difference is 12. Okay, so there can be multiple methods in the second program, and for the first program, whichever method you want to call, you will create an object, and you can choose what you want. If I want only the this one, I will do only this. Right? I will access by using the object name dot the method name, passing the proper value that is required for the method. The moment you type in my obj dot add, it will say what's the declaration for that object. It needs two value. Okay, you have to pass it. So that is how you will do the invocation of multiple classes. Sorry, invocation of one class file from the other class file. So in a typical application, there will be multiple class files, right? I was showing in the e-library application. If you see, where is it? You will have multiple classes, right? It's add library, delete librarian, written book, add book, so many things. Okay, and that is how it will be structured. And if you want to call one class file from another class file, from that class file it will call the third class file. From third it can call fourth class file for whatever purpose, right? So it is going to be kind of treat a parent child. From first class it will call second class through object creation, and from second it will call third. So that is how the typical flow in any application is going to be done. So when you're going to analyze your response time problem or any memory problem, any tool like AppDynamics or your JProfiler will show you this tree hierarchy. Where is that program started? This class file, how much time it took. From there it called the second class file. In that method, how much time it took. So that is how a tree hierarchy or a parent child breakup will be given by any tool. So, so once you know the way the programs are created, then you will be able to easily visualize that when you see that results in the tools. Okay, yeah. So by like this, we can go and create multiple classes, multiple methods. Tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll go and see how a typical database connection is created in a Java program. Our third-party call, external calls will be called from the Java program by creating HTTP connections. What is called import? How do you add external classes to your Java program? How to create a jar, how to create a var. Yeah, those things we'll look into it in detail tomorrow. Okay, I'll take a pass here. Yeah, any questions? Feel free to ask. Again, my tips is, yeah, go ahead.
Do you have this project, this e-library project in your drive? Java
Yeah,
project?
yes. See, the project as such, it is there in the drive, and also there's a link from where you can download the project. Okay, if you go to the softwares and link, and if you go to the e-library job project, okay, so there will be a link from where you can download this project. Okay, you can go and download the Java code project directly from here. Okay, you can do it. You can directly download the e-library project from this website.
Okay, thank you.
So this will be
Yeah.
cover heap dump and thread dump
See,
analysis. And
yeah. See, if you see the session course, it's all will be part of that as you move along. Course.
yeah, just now you created a one script, right? You told me you told we create multiple objects and methods. Parallelly, you can show it in thread dump. It is easy to identify the issues.
See, thread dumps, heap dumps are see, this is the whatever we are learning today is more from the basics of Java, right? And when we start with the our engineering session, probably from Wednesday, for example, we will go over analyzing these e-library application more from the shift left or from the performance engineering perspective. Okay, early performance engineering. We'll try to optimize the response time. We'll try to find out where is the problem with the response time in the methods. And then we'll go to the memory part where we'll look into the leak analysis. What is Java stack? What is Java heap? Okay. and then we'll go into the memory leak analysis. From there, we'll go to the heap dumps, right? So we'll go with the flow so that we'll understand what is memory, what is Java heap, when we will do the single user leak analysis, when we will do heap dump analysis, because your leak analysis, we will do it mostly shift left with a single user analyzing a particular transaction using tool like JProfiler. Heap dump, when you do an endurance test or load test, you will look into the memory pattern. Depending upon the memory pattern, you'll go and take a heap dump. Similarly, when you do a load test, depending upon the memory, depending upon your response time impact or your CPU or a thread utilization, you'll go and take a thread dump. So that is how we'll go into the sessions and learn thread dump whenever that is coming relevant to the topic, and then later into the thread dump. Whatever we are learning today is more into the basics or introduction to the performance engineering or the Java. So we'll not cover any of these things now. We'll be covering it later.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Can you go to the Eclipse once? Okay. You said maybe a dumb question, but I just wanted to clear it off. So second program, my object. So you created an object, and then you are creating the object for the class file second program, and then again you have given equal to new second program and close the braces. Is this a syntax?
Yeah. So to you're saying the second program, my object equal to new of second program, right?
Right.
That's a syntax.
Because
That's correct. That's a syntax for creating an object.
so, but we are actually utilizing the object, and we are calling the methods from that class, right? Then again, like second my object equal to new second. So we are creating a new class and invoking that existing class. Just can you give me some explanation about this syntax?
No, see, I'm creating a object only once, right? You have a second program where you have couple of methods. So for me to call or for me to use that method in my first program, I cannot access a method directly. So I will create first I'll call the class file. For calling the class file, I'm creating an object. Second program is equal to my obj is equal to new of second program. Okay, that's a syntax. Once this
Okay.
one line is given, and my obj is the object name, right? With that, now I can call all the objects which is there in the second program. So my obj.add, my obj.sub, my obj.multiply, whatever it is. I don't need to create again and again multiple object for every method. Just create before calling any class file. Before calling any method, you will use the syntax to create a instance of that second program. Second program, my obj is equal to new second program. It's a simple syntax to create an instance of that class file.
Okay. It's a syntax basically.
Yeah. And as I said, again, when you start doing this, obviously everything is new, right? Why int sum is equal to my obj? So if you start asking why this is done in certain way, you will not get answer, because we are not learning Java from a development perspective, right? And it is not required as well. It will start confusing you. Our idea is to understand the structure of a Java program, how this is done in a typical application, so that you can relate it whenever you're going to see these terminologies like method or object or the tree hierarchies in your analysis, right? You will understand, definitely you'll be able to correlate very easily. You will not feel that it is a black box. Okay, that in that sense, you try to understand and learn this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anyways, like going forward, when we do this analysis, right now everything is on your local. But if at all we are working on servers, we'll get the dumps from there and to our local, and we'll do analysis. So you will be showing that mechanism as well, right?
Um, See, when we are going to, this is the Eclipse, this is the local. When we are going to do the profiling or heap dump or a thread dump or whatever it is, the application is deployed in the server, right?
Correct.
So yeah, whatever we are going to do, it is on the server only.
Right. Okay. But are we allowed to? We probably will not be allowed to do any debugging on server, right? We cannot do profiling there. We
No, no,
have to get
yeah, that is why
log,
I
or
said
we have to get the code.
no. The prerequisite is you should have a dedicated server. When I serve server, it is going to be just a one single mission where you're going to deploy your server and the application. The prerequisite is you should have two missions. One mission to install all the tools like Eclipse, or it can be a JProfiler, JVisual VM, all these engineering tools, and another mission where you're going to install your application server and then deploy the war file. You should have complete access to that so that you can go and change the heap, change the configuration, restart, and do whatever you want from an engineering perspective. So that is definitely required. We cannot do this exercise of engineering in the profiling in the performance environment or any other QA environment. Two reasons: one, you will not have a control to change anything. Second, when you do profiling, multiple people might also be doing it in parallel, so you will not know whether the traffic belongs to you or the others. So right away, if you want to do PE, you have to give you this prerequisite to your infra team or whoever is responsible for you to provide the missions.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Going forward, we'll have more questions.
Sure. Okay, I'll pass it to your guys. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.